Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's jump into our first story where a hardworking cashier goes above and beyond only to be told you're just a cashier. Well, if that's the game management wants to play, guess what? They're about to find out exactly what happens when you take your best worker for granted. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. I'm just a dumb cashier. All right, you got it, boss. Background. So this happened recently. I work at a slightly upscale grocery store that's owned by an investment group who constantly make dumb decisions because they think they can buff out the damage that occurs when you yeet a car off a cliff at 90 miles per hour and will come out on top. Recently, we got official uniforms that do nothing but make everyone more annoyed, for example. I work at the front end, cashiering and bagging. Things sometimes get slow, or we have too many people scheduled for the given flow of customers, so I started occupying myself by refilling cases as needed or helping other departments when they got slammed or went on smoke breaks. I had originally started in deli, and the current deli manager knew I knew my crap. The meat manager knew I could be trusted to pull from the case and cut. Thought he wouldn't allow it for insurance purposes, and then me go into the meat rooms constantly to either refill the cases or help unload shipments. I regularly went into the produce back rooms to help restock some of the shelves up front too. Everyone was grateful for the help because the investment group's pinching pennies. I'm also one of the very few who can empty the cardboard baler without issues, speedily, and get the Ford Model T floor machine to work properly. We recently had a reorg where multiple front-end assistant managers were demoted, and we had one outsider and a new hire get promoted. That soured most everyone's mood, especially since the new hire was pretty useless in terms of managing people, doing any sort of tasks, sending people to lunch on time to not screw up the front, and micromanaging, to name just a few issues. The other one was new, but actually put his back into it and didn't swing his weight around when other people up front knew how to fix issues with the registers, which were created when Moses was walking around, or with customers, many of whom were there when Washington crossed the river. He quickly figured out I knew what I was doing and let me do my thing and trusted me to come back to the front when it was busy or when I was called. He also used please and thank you, which helped. So I get pulled into the office by the new hire assistant manager in front of a store ASM. She starts questioning me, asking why I'm constantly wandering off and why I don't respect her. And I snapped. I told her that nobody respected her because she threw her weight around and didn't put any effort. That I'd rather have two of the other new ASM over her, and that I wasn't just running to the back to have a wank. I was actually working, unlike some of the other front-end cashiers. I was constantly called up to the front because I was the fastest scanner and bagger, and other cashiers usually had their nose in their phones. In short, the store ASM took her side, didn't listen to a thing I said, and berated me. I was called just a cashier, so I said, yep, sure thing, and went back to my cashiering duties. Around this time, my schedule started getting effed up. I'm not a morning person, but I started getting 10 a.m. and 9 a.m. shifts. I stopped doing everything extra, walked by the baler, and when it was full, oh well, not my job. Deli department slammed, and one of the guys is in the back trying to pull lasagnas out from the overloaded freezers. Damn, that sucks, bro. Not too long ago, I get pulled into the office with the front-end manager and the store manager. I explained exactly what the issue was, how much extra work I did, how many more customers I took over the other cashiers, and explained that I wasn't doing anything else and was treating people with the respect I was receiving. To make a long story short, we quietly agreed that the other manager was out of line and that things will change. Bullcrap. I plan on not going back to doing what I do until I renegotiate my contract with the store manager because jack crap has changed. If they really agreed with you on this, the ASM would have been sitting in there with you and all this would have been said in front of both of you. They're trying to appease you without upsetting her. Watch yourself. And our second story. You can't call in sick if you can't talk? Watch me walk in like a biohazard. This happened almost a year ago. I don't work there anymore. I used to earn some pocket money as a tutor working with K-12 kids in an after-school program. Last fall, I got the flu. Coughing, hacking, sneezing, fever. I was definitely sick and definitely contagious. The problem was I'd also developed laryngitis, meaning I couldn't call off work as I couldn't speak. I texted and emailed my boss at 9 a.m. to let them know. Shift started at 4 p.m. 4 hours later, 1 p.m., they replied, "Sorry, we can't find someone to take over for you. Guess you'll have to come in." I sat there panicking because I didn't want to, A, get the kids sick, and B, make myself worse by working with kids. I begged them to reconsider. No dice. I texted coworkers seeing if someone could trade shifts. No luck. Then I remembered an interesting policy. Tutors were required to be there 20 minutes before their first student arrived so they could get the area ready with needed materials, read over notes from previous sessions, set up their table with school supplies, etc. I also remembered I was the first person scheduled, meaning that when I got there, I would be the only person there besides administration. I purposely didn't take any medicine for the rest of the day. My symptoms went from annoying to bad. I was hacking. My eyes looked glassy. I was extremely pale. Whole shebang. I then put on 3 KN95 masks, changed my clothes, and put on 2 layers of surgical gloves. No reason to get the kids sick, although they were probably the ones to give it to me in the first place. Then I walked into the admin's office sounding like I had the plague. A perfectly timed sneeze and coughing fit hit me just as I approached the open door. Her office was quite long, so I never got within 10 feet of her. Still, she looked panicked as I croaked, "Well, I'm here." Amazingly, she found a way to take over my students that day. I was in the building for less than 5 minutes. I feel like I see this all the time, and the correct response is something along the lines of, "I'm sorry, you seem to have misunderstood my previous message. I wasn't asking, I was informing you that I will not be in today." And our last story. He lied about my property, now he has no property. 7 years ago, I was lucky enough to be able to buy my own place. I'd saved for 10 years, worked my butt off, and I was so happy to be able to have a place to call my own. Now, being a single person on the mortgage meant I had to make compromises. One such compromise was buying a property on a shared block, a lot cheaper. Where I'm from, this usually means it's on a strata title. For some, that's a bonus, as it means there's a communal fund for repairs. Typically, insurance is cheaper as it's collective, and other things like maintenance being taken care of. Strata titles also come with a lot of bylaws and restrictions on what you can and can't do. I'm a pretty private and introverted person, so having to deal with people and have limits on how I live was a no-no. I took my time, found the perfect property, shared block, but freehold title. Only thing that I was needed to pay public liability insurance for the shared walkway on the property, split equally between the owners. The real estate agent's local to my area. There's also about 3 degrees of separation between us. He has friends who were friends with my friends type of thing. Didn't know him, but knew of him, so that sort of felt good too. About 5 months after I move in, I get a knock on the door from the owner, landlord of the property next to me to discuss insurance. Not a problem. I ask for a copy of the policy so I have a record, it gets sent through, and lo and behold, it's for strata insurance. I was incredibly confused, and after much back and forth, the property isn't a freehold title but a strata title. I called my lawyer who conveyed the title, etc. He was dumbfounded, but overall did the right thing and made things as right as they could. I arranged for a meeting with the real estate agent. I brought emails and printouts of the ads. They had all saying it was freehold, emails between the real estate agent and my lawyer discussing its freehold status. Despite it being in absolute black and white, he refused to accept any fault or offer anything to make things right. I don't begrudge that. He's looking out for himself. I get that. However, I wouldn't forget it. I did enter into mediation with the real estate agent, and all I asked for was when the time came for me to sell, they'd do it or cover the costs. I thought this was reasonable, but they flat out refused, offered me $1,000 to go away, which I refused. I had the option to pursue them legally and was advised by the mediator to do so, but ultimately I decided against it for a few reasons, the main one being my health at the time. So I planned and plotted, and I schemed and connived as to how to get back at this SOB, and I settled on this. I found his personal Facebook page, which wasn't set to private, saw some photos of a boys on tour trip he went on a few weeks prior. So about 5 to 6 months after I bought the property, I also found his address through a business registration search on the anniversary of the sale. For 6 years straight, I sent them flowers with a note, "Dear real estate agent, remembering you on this, our special day. She has your eyes. Love, L." They varied ever so slightly over the years, but always had "on this, our special day" and some weird inference to a love child and a desire to reconnect. I also from time to time arranged for postcards and letters to be sent from another country. The one he was on tour in always signed Love, L. I learned about 3 weeks ago that this guy had recently divorced, lost his home, and is no longer working as a real estate agent. His wife had found out he cheated on her. The story I was told, through said friends of friends, went along the lines of he would get weird gifts and flowers every year, same day every year. She, his wife, finally put 2 and 2 together and realized what the date was, and he admitted to cheating on her. Now, I didn't mean for this, but it turns out a year before I bought my house, he'd gone on holiday, came back with an STD, gave it to his wife, but somehow convinced her that it wasn't him. As such, our special day turned out to be right around the time he'd have been deep in someone who wasn't his wife, only 1 year earlier. He's apparently lost his house, half his retirement savings, and also his business. I do feel a bit guilty about all of it sometimes, but then I'm reminded that he's a scumbag and that karma, like me, is a patient, spiteful, and vengeful bee. If you ever do feel slightly guilty about this, just remember that people like this stay effing people over, and very few people like you ever take revenge. Technically, he did cheat, so you got your revenge, and you saved his wife from being married to a POS. Kudos. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.